Now, before you go ripping out that sad, half-dead tomato plant and tossing it on the burn pile, hold on just 1 minute. Put the shovel down. Set it right on down, 'cause I have seen tomato plants that look deader than a doornail, yellow, wilted, half their leaves gone, chewed all up, flopping over, you name it, come roaring right back to life and give a full basket of tomatoes. I mean it. A tomato is about the most forgiving, stubborn, hard-to-kill plant there is in the whole garden. So if yours is looking rough right now, don't you dare quit on it just yet. Do these 5 things, starting today, and give that plant a real fighting chance. I'd bet you it pulls right through. See, here's the thing most folks just don't understand. A tomato plant that looks half dead, 9 times out of 10, it ain't actually dying. It's just stressed. Something knocked it back. Could be the heat, could be a bug, could be too much water or too little. And now it's sitting there sulking, dropping its leaves, turning yellow, looking downright pitiful. But underneath all that sorry-looking mess, that plant has got a whole lot of fight left in it. Its roots are still down there, alive and working away. It just needs the right help at the right time to get back up on its feet. So we ain't going to panic here, and we ain't going to yank it. We're going to nurse it back. And it all comes down to 5 things. But first, we figure out what knocked it down. And I'll tell you, I speak from experience on this one. Few years back, I had a whole row of tomatoes get hit hard. Leaves yellowing, wilting, dropping off. The whole lot of them looking about half gone. And I stood there with my hand on the shovel, ready to tear 'em all out and start over, figuring they were done for. But something told me to hold off and try a few things first. So I did. And 3 weeks later, them same sorry plants were green and standing tall and loaded down with fruit. If I'd have listened to my first instinct, I'd have thrown away my whole tomato crop. So learn from me. Don't you count 'em out. Now, in all my years, there's really just a handful of things that knock a tomato down like this. Overwatering or underwatering, that's the big one by a country mile. A long stretch of brutal heat, a disease creeping its way up from the soil, a hornworm or a swarm of aphids having at it, or a storm that came through and battered the poor thing. 9 times out of 10, it's one of them right there. So as we go through these fixes, you keep in the back of your mind what likely got yours, 'cause a couple of these moves you do no matter what's wrong, and a couple you aim right square at the culprit. Now, before you do a single thing to fix it, you got to play doctor for a minute and figure out what's ailing it. And you do that by looking real close at the leaves, 'cause a tomato will tell you a whole lot if you know how to read it. So, if your plant's wilting, all droopy and sad, the very first thing you do is stick your finger down into the soil, a couple inches. If it comes out soggy and wet down there, then you've been overwatering, and them roots are sitting in water, drowning and starting to rot. But if it's bone dry down there, well, the poor thing's just plain thirsty. Now here's the tricky part. Them 2 opposite problems, too much water and too little. They both make the plant wilt and look near about the same, so you cannot guess. You got to stick your finger in and check. Next, if the bottom leaves are turning yellow and it's creeping its way up the plant, that's often too much water, or the plant's just hungry for a bit of food. If you see brown or black spots on the leaves, or blotchy dead patches, especially starting down low near the ground, that there's a fungus, a disease, and we'll deal with it. If the leaves are curling up, and it wilts in the hot afternoon, but then perks right back up of an evening, that's just heat stress. The plant's fine. It's only too hot. If the leaves look all stippled and speckly, or you spot little webs. That's tiny spider mites. And if whole branches got stripped bare near overnight, well, then you got yourself a hornworm, one of them big fat green caterpillars, and I promise you he's hiding on there right now. And a couple more you might run into. If your plant wilts and yellows real bad on just one side, or one whole branch at a time, and it won't perk back up at night no matter how you water it, well, that could be a wilt disease down in the roots, and I'll be honest with you, that one's a tough nut to beat, though these moves will still buy you time and maybe a last harvest. If you just moved it or transplanted it, and it went and flopped over, that's most likely just transplant shock, and it'll usually shrug that right off in a few days, all on its own. And if it's growing in a pot or a container, you remember them dry out awful fast, and the roots can plain cook in the sun. So a struggler in a container is real often just too hot and too dry, nothing more. So take a good long look, figure out roughly what you're up against, and now let's fix it with the 5 moves. Move number 1, and this is where you resist that urge to pull the whole plant, and instead you just cut away the bad parts. Grab yourself a clean pair of pruners or some scissors, and you go over that whole plant and you trim off everything that's dead or dying. The crispy brown leaves, the yellow ones down low, any stems that have gone mushy or spotted or diseased. Cut 'em clean off. Now, why do we do this? 2 big reasons. 1, them dead and dying leaves ain't doing the plant a lick of good anymore. They're just hanging there, draining away energy the plant could be using to heal itself. You cut 'em off, and the plant quits throwing good energy after bad. And 2, if it's a disease that's the problem, them sick leaves are exactly how it spreads. So cutting 'em off and getting 'em out of there stops it dead in its tracks. Now, real important here, if you're cutting off diseased material, do not go throwing it on your compost pile, 'cause that'll just spread the sickness all around your garden. Bag it up and get it right out of there. And wipe your pruners down with a little rubbing alcohol between cuts, so you don't carry the disease from one branch to the next. And strip off them lowest leaves for sure. The bottom ones down near the soil are usually the sickest and the first to catch trouble anyhow. Now, when you're all done, that plant might look a little bare and pitiful, but don't you fret about that one bit. You've cleared away all the dead weight, and now every last bit of that plant's energy can pour straight into making fresh, new, healthy growth. And here's a bolder move for a plant that's really far gone. Sometimes you cut it back hard, take the whole thing down by 1/3 or even half, cutting just above a healthy growth point. Now I know, that sounds downright brutal. But a tomato will answer a hard prune like that by pushing out a whole flush of vigorous new growth from down below. When most of a plant's damaged, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is cut away all that struggle and let it start fresh from its strong, healthy parts. Move number 2, and this here's the big one, the move that saves more tomatoes than anything else. You gotta fix the watering. 'Cause bad watering, whether it's too much or too little, is behind most of the trouble a tomato ever gets into. So, remember when you stuck your finger down in that soil? If it came out soggy and wet, you've been giving it too much, and them roots are sitting there in water, suffocating and starting to rot away. So you gotta back way off, quit watering it, and let that soil dry out good before you give it another single drop. And if it's in a pot that don't drain, well, there's your whole problem right there. Punch some holes in the bottom or get it into a better pot. And if you really suspect them roots have rotted from all that wet, it's worth lifting the plant up gentle and having a look. Healthy roots are white and firm to the touch. If they've gone brown and mushy on you, trim off the rotted ones with clean snips and replant it into fresh, well-draining soil. It's a drastic thing to do, I know, but it can save a plant that's drowning. But now, if that soil was bone dry, then the poor thing's just been starving for water. So you give it a good, deep, slow soak. Really soak it clear down to the roots, and then you keep it up. Now here's the magic word for watering tomatoes, whether you were overdoing it or underdoing it. Steady. Even. From here on out, you water deep, right down at the base of the plant, on a nice regular rhythm, about an inch or two a week, and more when it's real hot. And you do not let it swing from bone dry to sopping wet and back, 'cause that wild up and down is what stresses a tomato the very worst. Just consistent, even water down at the roots. That one thing alone will turn a whole lot of half-dead tomatoes right around. Move number 3. Give it a gentle little feeding to fuel the comeback. Now, you hear me real good on that word gentle, 'cause this is right where a lot of folks go and mess it up. A stressed, half-dead plant does need a little boost of nutrients to rebuild itself. But if you go dumping a big heavy load of strong fertilizer on a sick plant, you will do it more harm than good. You can burn them already stressed out roots, and you push out weak, floppy growth the plant can't support. So you go easy, and you go mild. A nice, diluted, watered-down feed is what you want here. Something like a compost tea, or a worm casting tea, or a fish and seaweed feed mixed down weak. That seaweed especially, that's real good stuff for helping a plant shake off stress and bounce back. It gives the plant just enough of a nudge to start pushing out that new growth without overwhelming it. Now, one exception to keep in mind. If you figured out your trouble was overwatering and rotted roots, then you hold off on the feeding for a week or two first. Let them roots dry out and recover a bit before you go asking them to take up food. But for most struggling tomatoes, a gentle little feed is just like a warm bowl of soup for a sick fella. Exactly what it needs to get its strength back up. Hey, quick one before the last 2 moves. If this is helping you save your tomatoes, do an old fella a favor and tap that subscribe button down there. I put out practical, don't-give-up garden help just like this every single week. Anyhow, move number 4. Move number 4. Take away whatever it is that's still stressing the plant and give it a little protection while it heals. See, there ain't much use nursing a plant back to health if the very same thing that knocked it down is still out there beating on it. So, if it was the heat that got it, and it's still blazing hot out there, rig up a little shade cloth over it for them hot afternoons. Give the poor thing some relief. If it was pests that did it, if you found a hornworm, you pick him off and that's the end of him. If it's aphids or mites, you blast 'em off with a good hard spray of water, or hit 'em with a little insecticidal soap. Get them bugs off of it. If a storm knocked it flat, or the stems flopping around loose, stake it back up, tie it gentle to a good sturdy support so it's standing upright and up off that wet ground. And then, no matter what it was that got your plant, you do this one thing for every struggling tomato there is. You lay down a nice thick layer of mulch all around the base of it. Straw, shredded leaves, grass clippings, whatever you got on hand. That mulch is like tucking the plant right into bed. It holds the soil moisture nice and even so you don't get them wild wet-to-dry swings. It keeps the roots cool through the heat, and it stops disease from splashing up off the bare dirt onto the leaves when it rains. Mulch and a little protection. That gives your plant a calm, safe place to do its healing in peace. And move number 5, you take the load off, so all the plant's energy can go straight into getting well. Now here's what I mean by that. A struggling tomato plant, if it's still got flowers on it, or little baby green tomatoes starting to form, it's trying its best to do 2 great big jobs at the very same time: heal itself and grow fruit. And it just cannot do both when it's this weak and worn down. See, making fruit takes a tremendous amount of a plant's energy. So, and I know this part's a little hard to make yourself do, you pinch off them flowers and any of them tiny little fruits for now, just for a little while. You take that whole job off the plant's plate, so every bit of its strength pours into growing new leaves and new roots and getting itself healthy again. And then, once it's back up on its feet in a couple weeks, you let it flower and fruit all at once, and it'll give you far more in the end than if you'd let it limp along trying to do everything at once. And here's a wonderful little bonus fact that shows you just how tough these plants really are. A tomato can grow brand new roots right out of its own stem. So if your plant's gone all leggy or the roots got damaged, you can pile some soil up over the lower part of that bare stem, or even lay it down sideways in a shallow little trench, and it'll sprout out a whole new set of roots and come back stronger than it ever was. Shoot, if a piece of it even breaks clean off, you can stick that piece in a glass of water or down in the dirt, and it'll root right into a whole new plant. That right there is exactly why I keep telling you, never, ever give up on a tomato. They just flat out want to live. Now, after you've done all 5 of them things, the last ingredient of all is patience. You got to give it some time. A plant don't heal up overnight, so give it 2, maybe 3 weeks. And what you're watching for the whole time is new growth, little bits of fresh green pushing out of the top of the plant, or from the center, or new little shoots coming out along the stem. Now them old damaged leaves you left on there, they might not ever green back up, and that's perfectly fine. It's the new growth that tells you the plant's alive and fighting its way back. So don't you go poking at it and fretting over it every single day. You do your 5 things, and then you leave it be and let it work. Now, I'll be straight with you, 'cause not every last plant can be saved. If you go down to the very base of the stem, right there at the soil line, and it's gone brown and mushy and soft all the way around, or you lift the plant up and them roots are black and slimy and rotted clean away, well then that one's truly gone, and you can let it go with a clear conscience. But long as that main stem is still firm and green somewhere, and there's still some roots holding on down there, there is hope. And a whole lot more often than you'd ever believe, that half-gone plant comes back green and loaded with fruit, and you'll feel like a regular miracle worker. And once she's back on her feet, a little bit of prevention keeps her there. You water steady and even. You keep that mulch down. You give the plants room so the air moves good between them. And you just walk your garden every day or 2 and give a look. 'Cause the real secret to never losing a plant is catching the trouble early, when it's small and easy to fix, instead of waiting till it's half gone. But even if you do wait too long, now you know it ain't over. So let me tie up your 5 rescue moves. Number 1, don't you yank it. Prune off all the dead, yellow, and diseased parts so it can put its energy into healing. Number 2, fix the watering. Check whether it's too wet or too dry, and get it steady and even from here on out. Number 3, give it a gentle, watered-down feed to fuel the comeback, but don't you overdo it. Number 4, take away whatever stressed it, shade it, stake it, debug it, and mulch around the base to tuck it in safe. And number 5, pinch off the flowers so it can heal instead of fruit. And remember, that stubborn plant can even grow itself brand new roots. Then you wait, you watch for that fresh green growth, and you let the plant do the rest. That's the whole rescue right there. So the next time your tomato's looking half gone and you're reaching for that shovel, you put the shovel right back down where it was. You do these 5 things, you give it a couple weeks, and I'll bet you that tough old plant surprises you. Anyway, that's about it really. Don't you give up on them. See you in the next video. And don't forget to check out my other videos too.